Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. This is Vihang Suryavanshi here, and I welcome you all to a webinar for ZBrush sculpting. Frameworks periodically conducts these kinds of webinar, which is conducted by industry experts and veterans. So I request you all to subscribe to the channel and also on the notification so you all get regularly updates on the webinars which are upcoming and you don't miss any technical excellence. So let's go back to the webinar and we present our esteemed guest today, that is Prem Chandra sir. So Prem Chandra sir को 17 years का experience है in the industry. He has worked as a modeling and asset artist, a senior artist, and a supervisor. One of the highlights project of his career has been The Legend of Hanuman, which is streaming on Disney Hotstar. He has worked for all the 4 episodes as an asset supervisor. Fantastic show. And he has worked with many prestigious studios like Eccentrics, Graphic India, Sparky Animation, Paintbox, and he has a quite extensive experience. 17 years is a long time, and we are really thankful for Prem Chandra sir for taking out time and showing his skills and pipeline on ZBrush sculpting. मैं आप प्रेम चंद्रा सर को इनवाइट कर रहा हूँ for further proceedings. Prem Chandra sir, welcome to the webinar and would like to have few words from your side, and you can take the webinar. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on this webinar. I guess I'm audible. Okay.
You can start the webinar, sir.
Okay. So as I told you about me, I'll tell you about myself. So I've been working in the animation gaming industry for a long time, or quite a bit of long time. And I've been associated with various shows and all those things in the recent times. Okay, and it's a pleasure to give an insight about the show of how to do the things inside of ZBrush and all those things. So maybe without further ado, I'll start on with the presentation, or let's get into the softwares as soon as possible. So I'll start it. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen. Okay, so I hope I'm visible to you guys. I do have this software ready with me. So this is basically called Pure Ref. Okay, so this Pure Ref is one of the most used of reference collecting softwares. इसमें है और इसमें images वगैरह you can collect as much images as you want, and these are like you can simply drag and drop your images directly onto this software and it will definitely show you the things that's up there, and you don't have to create a different collection of images to just swap through them. Like these are some of the images that I've been collecting for this seminar. Okay, so that's how I want to show you these things. All of you should be able to download. This is free software and this is one of the best things out there for reference collecting. And one of the most important and good thing about the software is that you can actually keep it online. Like whenever you're working on some things, like if I keep it right here and I'll just move it, and I can actually go in there and sculpt around things, like how the things work. I'll move this. Just a second. Okay, so this is how this thing goes. If you want, you can zoom into this and like this. Okay, so let me show you a few of my works so that you might have an understanding that how I would have worked, or these are the things that I have worked recently. So this is a gaming model that I've been working for. Okay, all the textures and all those things, and I can take in any few questions if you have. Okay, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, and this thing is a horse anatomy study that I've done. This is again the comp of that image that I've shown you recently, like of this thing. Okay, and this was the Legend of Hanuman series that I was associated with as an asset supervisor. So I was responsible for taking care about how the quality and all the things goes on for this thing. Okay, and this is one of my recent proud sculpt that I've done in ZBrush, and this is totally asymmetrical drawing that I've been doing. This sketch was done like normally inside of 3D. What we do is like we'll model and do everything side by side or pose by pose, and using symmetry. And this thing was completely done without using symmetry, and we will be doing the left and right separately to get the look and feel about the character. So the feel, what you can see over here is like how the character sees the things, how is he thinking, the sitting poses and all those things. And this again is one of my last things. So this was a gaming model, the textures and done. This was for a like a long running thing, games. You know, this is not a priority character. These are like a bunch of deers will be going here and there. So this was like a tertiary character inside of a game. So that's pretty much about it. Okay. So I guess you guys have a gist of the things that I would be thinking about. So as far as the characters and the creatures that I will be talking about, so for that I had collected few of the things, few of these images which actually tells about how the creature goes and how the things and what are the things that you need to be taking care of while you're thinking about modeling the things. So I'll tell you about the pipeline, and by the time I'm just telling you all those things, you can go through these images, okay, that I'll be swapping. So I'll tell you about the pipeline. Pipeline is something, it's like a route path or a way where we actually go in from one position to other. And in those things, we'll be thinking about how to create something. Look, let's suppose if we want to create something like this, हमको ये बनाना है अगर, तो हमारे thought process में ये होना चाहिए कि how are we going to actually catch on to these things? कैसे उसको बनाएंगे? ओके, उसका हाथ कितना लंबा है, उसके पास इस तरह की क्रीपी जो भी थिंग्स उसके बॉडी में से निकल रही है, मोस्ट प्रोबेबली दैट माइट बी अ मशरूम काइंड ऑफ थिंग, वैसी चीज कैसे आएगी, उसके लिए कितना हाइट होगा, कितना उसमें द लेंथ ऑफ द हैंड्स एंड हाउ दीज थिंग्स आर टचिंग द नीज, इस तरह की चीजें उसमें कैसे कैप्चर होगी. And again, since we are doing the creatures, we can go a bit creepy, like a beautiful face, good looking eyes, and suddenly it's like a rotten thing or maybe a broken piece जिसके अंदर से ये आ रहा है, a small cute little mouse is coming out. And then again, one of the characters, this is again a monster जिसमें कि बहुत सारे the details and everything you can see over here, like how this things is going on, the character and the scale details on all these things, like how the nails are there and how these things are there. So this is how your thought process should be, like how are you going to do to make these things possible, कैसे उसको बनाएंगे, कैसे उस चीज को achieve करेंगे, the muscles, the scale details, and how are you guys going to do that. Okay, so I was telling you about the pipeline is actually a pathway, you know which actually tells you about how you should proceed about the things. So things, it will be like you can start these things inside of Maya or maybe Max, where you can block out the things, like the block out of this teeth or block out of this whole head, and you can simply add a ear to it and a tongue, without any kind of detailing. Okay, and then you can take that file as an obj or other sort of obj and fbxs are allowed inside of ZBrush, so you can take on to that things and you can just continue with your refining and detailing of the models. Okay, so once that thing is done inside of ZBrush, again there is a process called retopology where you can create an animatable loops on top of the models, and then there is a thing where you can actually take on these models and put all the details that you have done inside of ZBrush. ZBrush is basically a detailing software where you put n number of details and enormous realistic things out of it. So once you are doing those kind of thing, आपके लिए बहुत ईजी हो जाता है वो सारी चीज़ों का डिटेल्स निकाल के, एंड यू कैन एक्चुअली ग्रैब ऑन टू दोज डिटेल्स, एक्सट्रैक्ट दीज डिटेल्स एंड put inside of Maya. So since Maya cannot handle that kind of heavy, meshes and everything, so we need to create animatable loops or those kind of mesh which are suitable for softwares like any 3D modeling software. Let it be Cinema 4D, Max, Maya, anything. So in that thing you can actually take on to the textures, and then you can paint all those details, the color details, the normals, displacements, and all those things. So that's how the pipeline goes, like comes from Maya. So the pipeline, I'll tell you, it's from Maya, or maybe it can be Max. Then that goes to ZBrush. Then again, once the details are done, then you can take that retocode model, there is a term called retopology, is a process where you bake textures. Okay, in this baking of textures there is the detailing part where you do a heavy kind of a model and then you extract the details, and then again you go back to Max or Maya to view the detailings and everything that you have done on the high polygon model. So this is somewhat goes for a normal model. And if we are talking about the gaming pipeline, this is similar to that thing, and in between the retopology and everything will be happening according to the gaming character and how those things are referred to. Okay, so I'll continue with this. Okay, so few of the characters that I have taken to show you as a reference of how about the things that how we should do or what we should think. See, these are all gore characters. It's like it might be disturbing for some, but for some people this might be fascinating. This is how this thing goes. See a cute little birdie inside of the head and how this thing has been capturing the beauty of the whole scene. Again, a mushroom man or maybe a laughing gremlin or a creature. So this is how this thing goes. You know, you can take onto these expressions and work around these. You can add in the details of how these things are gone, or maybe the spider thing. You know, and I have another thing where I'll show you some references for the horns that I've taken for you. So horns, the details, how these things are done. I'll show in one of the things like the characters that maybe we'll be sculpting it right now itself. Like let's just jump into those things. It's just for the reference that I've collected all these things and I'm showing you. Okay, so these are the facial features which can be deformed, and those still looks too fascinating or maybe too wonderful, like how these things are forming and how amazing the facial features and everything comes out inside of ZBrush. Like this is the beauty of ZBrush. This actually gives you too much details and too much you know a freedom to play around with the character. So that's how this thing goes. And the deformed hands or maybe monstrous hands, because right now we are not doing exactly human anatomy thing and we are doing creatures, so these are the creatures or maybe some hand examples that I've taken. Okay, so let's just jump into the software. So what I have taken for today is this thing. Okay. So I'll try to capture as much of the essence of this character, however is possible. We'll quickly get into ZBrush and we'll try to do however is the fastest possible way to achieve something like this. Okay. So let's get into the software. I've already opened it for us. Okay. So for the first time when you're starting up the software, this is how it looks. Okay, it's quite a bit intimidating for some people क्योंकि जो लोग नए नए आए होते हैं ZBrush and I mean like from Max and Maya, so this thing is like a completely new kind of thing for them. Okay, so let's just make things simple. Okay, so the screen that you see over here, this is basically called your workspace, like the 3D space where you do everything, you know, where you model or do whatever you wish to do, those kind of things. So those things you do inside of here only, and we don't have too many views, you know, because everything what you work here is inside of this workplace. Okay, so right now you might be thinking about what I'm doing over here. So I do have a stylus over here, a pen tab, which makes life easier because it actually gives us the things where we can move it and we can do stuff and we can create some things, we can delete out these things, and it works much better with a stylus than a mouse actually. Okay, so that's about the viewport thing and the thing that I'm using. And now about the ZBrush. So let's add a mesh over here to work on. So as I've told you, this might be a bit intimidating, but inside of ZBrush, there are n number of things that are already being given. Okay. So what you can do over here is you can go inside of this tools menu. You can find this menu here also. Where is that thing? Yeah, okay. So there is this tool thing. Okay. Inside of this tool, you will see a lot of things happening. Okay, so there is this load tool, save tool. Inside of ZBrush we save everything as a tool. Okay, inside of Maya and Max we do have the file option where we save it as a file, but inside of ZBrush we do the tool. So this is how you do when we save, this goes in as a Z tool. So that's one of the basics. And when you click on anything that you want to actually put inside of ZBrush to start working on, you can actually click on this any icon over here, may it be a star or may it be a cylinder, and then you can see whatever you want. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking this sphere. Okay, and let's see. So this is a sphere, it's exactly like a clay. Okay, like however you work around and how you sculpt and how you do things with your clay, it's like a mud thing जिसको भी आप उठा सकते हो, रख सकते हो, चेंज कर सकते हो, है ना? So those kind of thing. See, it's like working around my fingers. इसको मैं कैसे भी मूव कर सकता हूँ, इसके अंदर चीज़ें मैं इसमें ऐड कर सकता हूँ, and I can even go inside and do the details and how I want the things to be. So this is exactly like playing with a child's play or a clay thing, you know, where you can modify the whole things and create n number of possible things out of this thing. I hope I'm a bit clear. And if you guys have a doubt or anything till now, you can simply put up the questions and I'll try to answer this in this session, maybe. And if it's a bigger thing that to answer, I'll try to finish that off at the end of the, you know, the webinar.
Prem
So
sir, just to update you, the questions are coming in the comments, and once your session is ended, you can comment back to them. So few people I think have joined late, like Joystick Diaries and Ranjan itself, who has commented, which we already have discussed in the beginning of the video. So I request Joystick Diaries and Ranjan to watch the video after the webinar is completed from the beginning, and your questions will be answered. Thank you, sir.
okay, so I might have accidentally answered their questions. Have not seen them, but it's okay. But sir, please let me know if there is any relative questions coming on, so I'll be helping them out. It's okay.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, let's continue with this. So this is your clay, and here you can see the materials. Materials are something which actually depicts about how the things are going to be. I mean, like if you click on this thing, you can see it's a red clay. So this shows as a red clay, or maybe let it be a chrome thing. Chrome as in your metallic things and how these things work. See, and a droplet, this a material is something which actually shows the properties of objects. It tells you about like how this thing should be and what are the properties of a wood, or maybe how reflective that thing. So for sculpting, basically I do this, use this basic material, and I'll work around that thing only. And if at all needed, I'll just go in there and slightly change the color. And how did I do that? I simply clicked on space button, and space, by holding on the space button, you will be getting all these kind of details. So this is the brush size, the size of the brush, which actually goes in, goes out. And then the focal shift, you might be looking at the smaller inside of this thing, the second circle, which actually tells us about the fall off, like how these things will work, किस पॉइंट से किस पॉइंट तक जाएगा और क्या इफेक्ट आएगा. तो ये वाली चीज क्लियर करने के लिए इट माइट बी द सेकेंड थिंग. ओके. And there is this thing which is called intensity, and intensity defies the things. Okay, like it tells you about how the things should be. Like if I'm doing like this, so this is how much of intensity it worked around. And if I increase the intensity, it will come like this, you know. तो अगर हम कितना उसमें हाइट देना चाहते हैं, या फिर कितनी हाइट में उसको हम अंदर करना चाहते हैं. सी, if I increase the intensity, it goes around like like it like instantly puts a hole inside of a mesh. Okay. And if I reduce that, I'm using the same thing, but it's not even affecting. I'll just show you. So this is how it goes, and you need to keep on like dragging and keep on like scratching on your stylus for this. Okay. So this is the basic thing about your gizmo or your palette, which instantly comes around with your space bar. Okay, I'll just go back where it's started. So this is how you do the undo, you know, whatever you have done. And the good thing about this is, like, once you are done with your sculpt or anything, this can be recorded inversely. So you will be able to see कि कहाँ से start किया था, कहाँ खत्म हुआ. I mean, like, exactly how the things went on. Like from a sphere, you were able to do all these things, and then again you were able to sculpt so much detailed monsters or maybe characters or whatever you wish to do. Okay. So I'll go on to our references for today. So this was something that I was going to do, and let's see how much are we going to do. So before, I'll tell you, before like starting off a character or maybe anything that like you might be doing, what you should be keeping in mind is that, like, how are you going to achieve those things, or what are the things that you see in a character. So basically it's not about just learning the software. What I want to give a info or maybe a thought process thing, that like how the things are going to be. So once you are inside of a like before even starting a character, or before even starting, let it be inside of Maya, 3D Max, or maybe ZBrush, the thought process that behind should be is like how you should actually look at a character. So this might look intimidating for you, but for me, what I see is the simple shapes. So if I look over here, I'll see it as a block.
So, Prem sir, we have a question here from a user. What
Okay.
is the difference between ZBrush and Unreal Engine?
ZBrush and Unreal Engine are, uh, it's actually a good question, because Unreal Engine is basically a platform. It's an engine where we do all those the things that are done inside for be to be able to enable those things, the renderings and everything, or maybe the gaming features and all those things comes under Unreal. and that is not a developing software. Means you cannot create anything inside of Unreal. I mean, like these characters you can see in inside of Unreal, because we do model everything inside of ZBrush or maybe Blender or any other software. So Unreal can take all these things and then create, you know, all these models. It can actually take up all these models and use the textures that we do, and then we work around it, you know. So
Yes, sir.
basically ZBrush is a sculpting software where you sculpt around it, you know, where you sculpt or maybe give details. Okay. And Unreal being a software which is able to use all these things to create or give you a gaming experience or maybe a user experience where all these things comes into a play after a whole combination of the stuffs are done. Okay, I hope that thing works for you.
Yes, yes, sir. And he has also asked us a corresponding question that when sculpting in ZBrush, as you demonstrated, any part can be undo.
Yes. Any part? No,
Yeah,
it's like a general undo that we do. I mean, like it has to be on a separate subtool. Subtools is a different thing. Like if you have n number of things, like let's just suppose we have a different model over here, then the undos that we do for this thing will be separate with this one. So that's how we can change it, but it's a different thing. If it is the same model, then we cannot do a separate undo for that. So the undo will work on a separate subtool. Subtool means a separate model or separate anything that we use inside of Maya.
thank you, sir, for clarifying these questions. We can go ahead.
Okay. So about the character, this how this things works. Okay. So basically, if I'm looking at a character, what I see, like instead of all these details and all these other things, what I can see over here is a big V, you know, a big V shape. Or to make it more simple, I'll do like this. I'll have it as a head, okay, and then I'll have another for the neck part, and then there is this torso part, okay, and connected to this might look like a heart shape or a leaf shape for the biceps. Oh, sorry, this thing. What I see is basically a sphere or maybe a portion where I can work around it, and then we'll have it extruded or maybe we'll have it with a box and we'll get these things here, or maybe something like this. And these things are also split upon using the same thing. So what we have to look on is, instead of getting intimidated with the character, what we need to see is like how basically we can get our models into something like this. You know, there is a box, this can be its neck portion, and then there is a sphere or something for you know, the shoulder portion, and then there can be an another box that can work around as the chest portion, and then there can be a cylinder or maybe another straight box for its tail, and another box for its what is it, the thighs portion or the maybe the upper legs, then the calf portions another box. So see, simply by getting all these things done, we can actually simplify our whole model. So this basically what I call is a picture blocking. Okay. And the same thing we will do inside of ZBrush. Instead of doing the blocking itself, I'll show you. Let's just get into the software. Okay, I hope these things are clear for you. I'll just clean it off. Okay, let's it's okay. Let it be. So once we are inside of ZBrush, what you'll see over here is a small head over here. Okay, this head tells you where exactly is your model facing. Okay, so inside of 3D Max or maybe other softwares, what you'll see is you'll get another a lot of things, like where you can actually see what is going on in the left portion. Maybe let it be like this is the eyes, what I'm doing right now, or maybe some kind of lips. Okay, so this for me is the front portion. So see, the head over here tells me this is your front. And if I rotate, and how do you rotate that? You will just click on the empty space and rotate. So that's how you rotate. And once you're rotating, you can even see the head also rotating with it. And the same thing you can do is like you can hold on to that head and you can rotate that. Okay. And how did I do the sculpt on this thing? I simply used brushes. So there are n number of brushes which makes our life easier. And I'll tell you about few of the brushes that I use regularly inside of my sculptings and inside my working space. Okay, so one of the important things are the standard brush. So once you click onto that one, you will get n number of options of brushes. Inside here, if you press S for Superman, and then you see over here the bottom, you will see it as T. So this is how the brush system works. So you have to click on B, S, and T to activate your standard brush. So standard brush gives you this kind of effect, you know, where you can actually work around the model and where you can actually go inside of it and you can create some things. And I'm pressing space, oh sorry, what is that, shift button to smooth it out. So the thumb rule of sculpting is like you create something, you smooth it out, you create something, you smooth it out. So you sculpt, smooth, sculpt, smooth. So this gives you enough volume.
Prince sir, we have a question from the user again, that
Yeah.
he's asking that if he doesn't know how to draw, like with pencil and paper, can he still become a sculpting artist using a ZBrush?
Yes, yes. That's definitely one of the most sorted after questions, because like many of the students even ask me like हमें वो नहीं आता है and we are not good at pencil or hand painted things. No, are we able to do these things? So all ZBrush needs is your creativity. It's just like your your clay, or maybe the what is that, the dough your mother makes to cook chapatis and all those things. You just think of it like that, you know. I'll show you one more brush. To access your brush library, we'll click on B and we'll click on this thing. This is called move brush. Okay, so what I was telling you about that thing is like, just think of it as a dough or maybe atta or something. You just click on it, you just move it, you know. All you need is your creativity. कैसे करना है, क्या है, कौन सी चीज कैसे मूव होती है, कहीं पे भी कुछ भी पकड़ के आगे पीछे कर सकते हैं. यू जस्ट हैव टू प्ले विद इट. यूज योर स्मूथ ब्रश, यूज योर स्टैंडर्ड ब्रश. जस्ट लेट योर क्रिएटिविटी फ्लो. अगर इफ यू आर डूइंग सम काइंड ऑफ स्टाइलाइज थिंग्स, अगर खुद ऐसी चीज खुद बनाना चाह रहे हो, बिकॉज राइट नाउ व्हाट आई एम डूइंग इज लाइक आई डोंट हैव एनी पर्टिकुलर आइडिया व्हाट आई एम डूइंग, बट आई एम स्टिल doing something, and this is like giving me a view about a character. So right now I have created something, and this is actually letting me see that okay, this might be uh, a face kind of thing, and there can be an eyebrow, and here I can go inside and just let it think like this might be my face, and his face is open and a tongue might be coming out, you know. And then this thing actually goes in. So this was something that I've never thought of. लेकिन अभी वो देखकर I'm able to see, okay, these are the things that I can do. So there is no point in thinking that I don't know any kind of traditional drawings and then I'll be good at it. It's just need your imagination and the proper use of proper tools in the proper time. मतलब कहाँ पे हम कौन सा टूल यूज करके क्या शेप लेकर आ सकते हैं, अगर उसका नॉलेज अगर होता है, then you will be able to know what kind of brushes will give me that results easily. You know, I hope this thing's better.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the response, sir. Please continue.
Okay. So right now, when I'm sculpting these things, every time I need to go in there and then search out for certain things and to know like, okay, yeah, this thing is working like this. Okay, I have to put more clay here and then I'll smooth. So instead of doing the tedious work, what ZBrush gives us is an excellent way of doing these things, which are called hotkeys. And I'm very much used to doing the hotkeys, and I'll always suggest each my students to try and always go with the hotkeys, because every time going in there and doing all these things is a tedious process. So for that, what needs to do is like we can click on the B button, B for balloon. And as I told you, I'm used to doing the standard brush. I'll tell you about the few brushes that I use. One is the standard brush. So let's create the standard brushes shortcut, or maybe the hotkey. What we'll do is like we'll click on Control, Alt, and click on the thing that we want to use, and then we'll do the shortcut. Okay, so right now then when I hover over it, it says Alt S. You can see over here, right? Okay, I hope you're visible. So then I'll go into this move brush, which is one of my go-to brushes. Then again go to Control Alt and click on that move brush, and then give a shortcut that you will be able to use, which is much more convenient to use. कुछ भी ले सकते हैं, कोई भी चीज जो भी आपको अच्छा लगे. Okay, so these are my go-to brushes. And then there is this Damien standard brush. Again, I'll go to B and press D for Damien, and here it is. Okay, so B, damn standard, Damien standard brush. This is all D, all W. And then there is this clay buildup. I'll show you all these things. Clay buildup. And then there is this clay, normal clay. Okay, now we are set to actually go in there and do the stuff that we do. So when I'm doing Alt X, I'm getting into clay. So the clay thing is actually adding more clay to the model. You know, like this. We can add it. And then there is this clay buildup, which shows you how the things are going in a much more additive way. Like जैसे हम clay उठा के अगर इसके ऊपर रख रहे हैं, तो ये कैसे आ रहा है, ये कैसे जा रहा है, ये सारी चीजें इसमें ऐड कर सकते हैं. So I somehow created a jigglypuff kind of thing. Maybe for a quick thing, I'll just change this thing and maybe keep on sculpting or maybe adding more volume to this thing. And I'll convert my brush Alt W for the move brush, and then I'll move on to these things, and I'll just have something like this, smooth it out. As I told you, the things goes like smooth it out, repeat, and using a thing, well, I'll do something like this. So again, I have no idea what I've created, but something like this looks fascinating. Okay. And one more thing, when you're doing this thing, you can even see inside of ZBrush that there is a window over here. Okay. So when you click onto that one, you can increase the size of it. This actually shows you the silhouettes of the model. So this is how it looks inside of the silhouette, and it gives you much better idea about the volume, कि कितना मोटा है कोई चीज, या फिर उसमें thickness कैसी है, क्या shape उसमें आ रहा है, about the height and length of the things, like how this thing should be, कैसा उसमें changes आने चाहिए, क्या हम उसमें ऐसा कर सकते हैं. Okay, okay. So that was much about the shortcuts, and I've told you about how the things are done. So let's jump into creating the thing, I mean the creature that we were talking about. So मैंने बहुत सारे इसमें changes किए हैं, and there are like a lot of things to undo. We'll go one by one. So see,
So,
these are the
Prem
things to
sir,
undo.
we have a question. Sir,
Uh-huh.
how can we make a customized list with my preferred brushes? Because typing so many shortcuts in the middle of a work is kind of distracting.
You need to create your own list. Can you come again with the question, please?
Sir, how can we make a customized list with my preferred brushes? Because typing so many shortcuts in the middle of a work is kind of distracting.
See, I didn't get the question actually, but
Basically,
what I
he is trying to come up with an idea that is there any a shelf creation where he can
yeah, yeah,
just go and
shelves.
print.
Yes, definitely the shelves are there. You know, like in preference where you can go in
Yes.
there, and inside of configuration you can do this enable customization. Once you
Okay.
click on this thing, you'll get this panel over here. Okay.
Yeah, because this question is like while working, you have to again leave the stylus and go to the keyboard for the shortcut. But what you show is perfect.
Okay. So this, what we can do is like once we have gone inside of preferences, then enable customization. We'll double click on the corners where you see this divider over here. You will double click on it. It will open us this thing. Okay. And what we can do is use this open space to add in our preferences. Okay. And inside of that, now you can add these kind of blocks. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So let's just suppose I want to use this brush. So what I'll do is, since our enable customization is on inside of config, we'll click on to control alt and simply click and drag it and put over here. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So that way these things give you spaces,
Okay, sir.
and here you can add on to your stuff what you want to add. Okay. Like you can change here, and maybe you can add a sphere over here, and maybe load tool. You can click over here and you can create, maybe export. What I'm doing is I'm simply creating control alt. I'm pressing control alt and just simply picking what the things I need. I'll click on this one and I'll have it here. Okay. And inside of that, if you need any other options that you want to do, like click on here and you do this. Okay. So once
Yes.
you are done with this, you can click on preferences and then deactivate your enable customization. So now if you see over here, I don't have to actually go in there and type in my shortcuts. I can simply go over here and say delete, and it will say okay, yeah, let's delete that. And then this thing comes up. Okay, this is your quick menu, which actually comes from this part. Okay, inside of tools you will see this quick menu, and inside of this you can pick anything. So even inside, without going there, you can actually, since you have already added this thing over here, you will click on it, and the list comes in and you can simply change anything.
Sure, sir.
So this
Sure.
is another way of doing when you are not comfortable doing the shortcuts. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Answered.
so
Sir,
I'll clean.
one more corresponding question, sir. सर आप जो मॉडल कर रहे हैं टेक्सचर भी ब्रश में ही मिलेगा या फिर हम लोगों को नेट से बोरो करना चाहिए?
Texture.
सर आप जो मॉडल कर रहे हैं टेक्सचर भी ब्रश में ही मिलेगा या फिर हम लोग नेट से बोरो करना चाहिए?
ओके, टेक्सचरिंग इनसाइड ऑफ ZBrush थोड़ा सा एक अलग पोर्शन हो जाता है, जिसमें आप कैसे टेक्सचर लगाते हो उस पे बेस्ड होता है. इसमें प्रोजेक्शन होता है, मतलब जैसे नेट से अगर आपको अगर कोई लीफ वाला टेक्सचर वगैरह सब लाकर यहाँ पे प्लेस करना है, सो देयर इज दिस ऑप्शन वेयर यू कैन एक्चुअली क्लिक ऑन हियर एंड यू कैन सी. तो मैंने यहाँ पे एक टेक्सचर ले लिया है, उसको रख लिया है, यहाँ पे टेक्सचर यूज कर लिया. अब मैं इसको कैसे यूज करूंगा? कोई भी एक ब्रश यूज कर सकता हूँ, उसके साथ इसको यहाँ पे पेंट कर सकता हूँ. सो इट्स लाइक पेंटिंग, बट जो ट्रेडिशनली हम लोग करते हैं वैसे यहाँ पे यूज नहीं कर सकते हैं. टेक्सचरिंग का एक अलग प्रोसेस हो जाता है जिसमें हम एक्सटर्नल टेक्सचर्स को यूज कर सकते हैं. बट for some reasons I found it like when we are texturing inside of ZBrush, the quality of the texture actually get diminished. So what the max thing that I will do is like we'll use it, जैसे हम इसको यूज कर सकते हैं और यहाँ से हम माया या फिर मे बी कोई भी आपका जो 3D सॉफ्टवेयर है उसके पास ले जा सकते हैं उसको, और वहां से हम उसमें जो भी चीजें करनी है सारे चेंजेस वहां पे, जैसे हम लोग ट्रेडिशनली टेक्सचर करते हैं, मे बी टेक इट टू सब्सटेंस पेंटर और समथिंग. सो वैसी चीज वहां पे कर सकते हैं. सो इट आई रादर नॉट डू इंस्टेड ऑफ ZBrush. बट ZBrush के पास अपने खुद के एक द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट थिंग दैट ZBrush डज हैव इज इट्स थिंग कॉल्ड व्हाट इज इट कॉल्ड, पॉलीपेंट. पॉलीपेंट कर कर एक चीज होता है जिसमें आप डायरेक्टली आपके मॉडल के ऊपर पेंट करते हैं, और जो एक बहुत ही ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग चीज होती है. जैसे मैं अभी अगर यहाँ पे ये कलर पिक कर रहा हूँ और मेरे को यहाँ पे पेंट करना है, तो मैं यहाँ पे आरजीबी पे जाता हूँ, यहाँ पे पेंट करना शुरू कर सकता हूँ, एंड इट्स लाइक सिंपली आई कैन डायरेक्टली पेंट ऑन दैट कैरेक्टर। यू नो, स्पेस दबाओ, कलर सेलेक्ट करो, यहाँ पे जाओ, यहाँ पे ये वाला कलर कर लो, यहाँ पे ऐसी चीजें कर लो। ठीक है।
Yes, sir. Thank you.
सो दैट्स वन वे ऑफ डूइंग दिस। और इन सबको हम लोग यूवी के थ्रू एक्सट्रैक्ट भी कर सकते हैं, जो माया मैक्स या फिर किसी भी मॉडलिंग सॉफ्टवेयर में हम लोग ले जाके इसको यूज कर सकते हैं। ओके, सो हम लोग लेट्स गेट बैक टू आवर स्कल्पटिंग थिंग। आई विल नीड द स्नेक हुक ब्रश ऑल्सो। ये भी बहुत ही अच्छा एक ब्रश होता है। ये ब्रश, यू नो, इट मेक्स, ये बिल्कुल मेल्टिंग टाइप है, मतलब कोई भी अगर एक मैश होती है तो उसको कैसे मेल्ट करके वो निकाल लेता है, एंड इट्स लाइक वन ऑफ द रियली वंडरफुल थिंग्स। इससे शेप्स बहुत इजीली फॉर्म हो सकते हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं। जो क्रीचर्स वगैरह होते हैं उसके बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट क्रिएट करने में हमें बहुत हेल्प होती है इस चीज से। ओके, सो हम लोग वायर फ्रेम कैसे देखते हैं, जो भी मैक्स माया के बैकग्राउंड से हैं तो उनको वायर फ्रेम के बारे में पता होता है कि जो उसके ऊपर लूप्स वगैरह होते हैं उनको वायर फ्रेम बोलते हैं। तो यहाँ पे शिफ्ट एफ दबाते हैं तो आता है। तो यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं जिस तरह की मैश है जिसको मैं स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ, मैं यहाँ पे फेस के ऊपर क्लिक करता हूँ, यहाँ पे मुझे फ्रंट मिल जाता है। और क्योंकि एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम आई वांट टू स्कल्प्ट एट बोथ साइड्स, मेरे को दोनों तरफ एक साथ काम करना है, देन आई विल बी प्रेसिंग एक्स, एक्स फॉर जाइलोफोन, जिससे कि मेरा सिमेट्री चालू हो जाता है, तो मैं दोनों तरफ एक साथ काम कर सकता हूँ। ओके, एंड देन व्हाट आई डू इज गो इनसाइड ऑफ दिस सब टूल मेन्यू। ये हमें टूल्स मेन्यू में मिलता है। यहाँ पे ये जो हमारा टूल्स मेन्यू है ये ही है। यहाँ पे हम सब टूल्स मेन्यू में जाते हैं। यहाँ पे इसके नीचे जब जाएंगे तो हमें यहाँ पे ज्योमेट्री में एक चीज मिलती है जिसको बोलते हैं हम डायनामेश। तो यहाँ पे डायनामेश क्या करता है कि जो एग्जिस्टिंग हमारी मैश है इसको क्रिएट कर देता है एक स्कल्प्टेबल ज्योमेट्री में। मतलब पहले जो हमारी ज्योमेट्री थी वो स्कल्प फ्रेंडली नहीं थी। अगर उसमें हम लोगों को स्कल्पटिंग करना है तो हमें बहुत ज्यादा लूप्स के बाउंड होना पड़ता था। जैसे अगर मैं ऐसे कर रहा हूँ तो देखो आपको यहाँ पे ये ब्रेक होते हुए दिख रहा है। मैं डायनामेश में जाता हूँ, बाहर कंट्रोल और बाहर क्लिक करता हूँ तो इसमें ऑटोमेटिकली वो मैशेस फॉर्म कर रहा है। तो देखो अब मुझे बिल्कुल भी टेंशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं कि मेरी मैश खराब हो रही है। मैं ऐसा शेप ले सकता हूँ, यहाँ जा सकता हूँ, चेंज कर सकता हूँ। देखो यहाँ पे मैश ऑटोमेटिकली क्रिएट हो गया। सो दिस मेक्स अ लाइफ ऑफ अ स्कल्प्टर वेरी कंफर्टेबल, जिसमें कि आप यहाँ पे आपको कोई टेंशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है। सीधे सीधे मॉडल निकालो, मॉडल पे जो आपको चाहिए वो बना लो। कितना भी एक्सट्रीम्स पे निकालना है एक्सट्रीम्स पे निकाल लो। मे भी उसकी सूंड बनानी हो तो वैसी कोई चीज बना लो। अब यहाँ पे ये ब्रेक हो रहा है, इसको चेंज कर लो। और यहाँ पे कंट्रोल और ड्रैग अगर बाहर करते हैं तो ये अगेन दिस गिव्स अस अ गुड मैश। सी, एंड दिस इज अगेन अ स्कल्प्टेबल मैश, जिसको आप छोटा छोटा सा किसी भी वे में आप रीसेट कर सकते हैं। सी, something like this works. Okay, so again let's go back to our part where we did this, we converted this into Dynamesh, and let's just start moving the things around। इसको मैं थोड़ा सा आगे करता हूँ just to see how my face was coming up। Okay, so right now as I told you, as my this webinar was supposed to be कि एक sphere से हम कैसे बना सकते हैं। So all you need to do is think about the stuff that we will be doing। कैसे उसमें हम फॉर्म क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, कैसे इसमें हम चीज़ें लेकर आ सकते हैं, क्या ऐसी चीज़ होगी जो कि हमारे फॉर्म को अचीव करने में हेल्प करेगी, कैसे हम शेप्स चेंज करेंगे। यहाँ पे मैं मूव टूल को यूज़ कर रहा हूँ, मूव टूल को यूज़ करके शेप्स थोड़ा सा अचीव करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। यहाँ पे साइड में मैं थोड़ा सा इसका जो जॉ है जॉ निकालता हूँ। इसके लिए मैं क्ले बिल्डअप ब्रश ले रहा हूँ यहाँ पे। और वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट यू माइट बी गेटिंग हॉन्टेड इज लाइक, हम लोग कितना भी काम कर लेते हैं हमेशा खराब ही लगता है, या फिर कितना भी स्कल्प कर रहे हैं वो बहुत खराब लगता है। सो द थिंग विच आई वॉन्ट टू टेल यू इज लाइक देर इज नथिंग एज अ बैड स्कल्प, इट्स जस्ट you are being impatient, or the achievement, or maybe the thing that you want to do is not there yet. मतलब हम अगर यहाँ पे काम अगर करना चाहते हैं तो जो मैं करना चाहता हूँ वो उस लेवल पे नहीं आया है कि वो रिफाइन लगे. अभी आपको ये देखकर लगेगा कितना कच्चा पक्का बन रहा है, बट वेट फॉर द टाइम व्हेन दिस थिंग्स गेट्स रियल, और जब इसमें चीजें आने लग जाती हैं. ओके, सो राइट नाउ व्हेन आई एम ट्राइंग टू स्कल्प्ट ओवर हियर, यू विल सी कि दूसरी तरफ से भी उसमें होल हो रहा है. सो दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द थिंग कॉल्ड बैक फेसिंग, जिसमें सामने करने पे अगर पीछे की सरफेस अगर पतली है या फिर उसमें इतनी थिकनेस नहीं है तो दिस थिंग्स एक्चुअली कम्स ओवर हियर. सो व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज विल गो इनटू ऑटो मास्किंग एंड वी डू दिस बैक फेस मास्क. ओके, इसके बाद अगर मैं यहाँ पे करता हूँ तो सी द एरिया इज अनअफेक्टेड. सो नाउ आई कैन बी फ्री एंड आई कैन डू वट एवर आई वॉन्ट. लाइक आई जस्ट सिंपली गो ऑन स्कल्प्ट ऑन टू डू दिस. ऐसा अच्छा लग रहा है, I'll simply go on, be playful with it. कि बस मेरे को मालूम है क्या चाहिए, नहीं मुझे नहीं मालूम है मुझे क्या चाहिए, बट आई एम जस्ट लुकिंग एट द शेप्स कि ये चीज़ कैसे आ रही है, इसमें क्या अचीव हो रहा है यहाँ पे, यू नो, ये सब डिटेल्स कैसे आ रहे हैं. एक और ब्रश है जो मुझे अभी लग रहा है जिसको मैं बोलता हूँ ये अपना ट्रिम डायनामिक. So for that I have to click B, then I'll press T, and then there is this thing, trim dynamic. Okay, so I'll again create a shortcut for that and I'll do Alt 2 for me. ये क्या करता है, ये चीज़ों को रिफाइन कर देता है. जैसे जो शेप्स हमने अभी बनाए थे ना, तो उसके ऊपर when I'm trying to use this brush, it's giving me, it's kind of a chisel thing. क्ले को ले लिया, एक maybe a knife or something that's in your hand, and you'll be simply dragging it off and you're creating this shape over here, something like this. You can really work this out slowly. You can see the neck portion coming up. Okay, और सामने से this is looking too broad, so now I'll just have it like this. और ये जो मॉडल हम लोग अभी क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, so this is something like this, what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm not concerned about like how this thing looks right now, because I know after a bit of sculpting and bit of working it out, this definitely is going to look much more and realistically closer to this thing. Okay, all we need is a time. So अभी जैसे मैंने आपको प्योर रेफ वाले ये सॉफ्टवेयर के बारे में बताया था, so that thing enables me to keep this image over here, so I can always look onto it. So the shortcut to keep it always enabled is Control Shift A. So right, so then when I'm working with it, it's on my screen right now. So यहाँ से जब मैं देख रहा हूँ तो मुझे इसमें और सारी चीज़ें जो भी मुझे लग रही हैं वो लग रही हैं, like how to move the things and how to push the stuff that I need. Okay, I'll add on to more volume on the neck and how this thing is going, and I'll add more detail on the shoulder sculpt. I'm not concerned about how the thing is looking right now. I'm telling this n number of times कि मुझे नहीं फर्क पड़ रहा है कि ये कैसे दिख रहा है, because what I'm trying to achieve is this thing. यहाँ पे ये मिल रहा है जो मैंने आपको बताया था स्टार्टिंग में, this is what's giving me the feel कि यहाँ पे सिलआउट्स में कैसे लग रहा है, मैं कौन सा एंगल में जा रहा हूँ तो मुझे किस तरह का शेप आ रहा है. So once I'm good with the volume, because in silhouettes you will be able to see the volume of the stuff, कि कितना बड़ा है, कितने उसमें वॉल्यूम है, या फिर कितना उसको स्ट्रेच करना है, या फिर क्या चीज़ उसको अफेक्ट कर रही है, ये सारी चीज़ें इसमें से मैं देख कर रहा हूँ. ओके, सो आई एम मोर फोकस्ड इन दिस silhouettes right now. अब हम हमारा स्नेक हुक ब्रश ले लेते हैं जिसका हमने शॉर्टकट बनाया था. ये वाला जो ब्रश है जो कि इसको बहुत ज़्यादा इजीली इधर उधर कहीं एक्सपैंड कर सकता है. सो नाउ व्हाट आई विल डू इज लाइक आई विल सिंपली ब्लॉक आउट मोर ऑफ माय ब्लॉकिंग. जैसे मैंने पहले आपको बताया था, ये जो हमारा स्कल्प्ट है इसको ले लिया, और इसमें जब मैं इसमें स्कल्प्ट करने जा रहा था तो मैंने इसमें बोला कि मैं इसको एज अ ब्लॉक डिपिक्ट करता हूँ, मतलब ये एज अ ब्लॉक है, ये मेरा दूसरा ब्लॉक है, ये तीसरा ब्लॉक है. सो राइट नाउ व्हाट आई एम डूइंग हियर इज सिंपली एग्जैक्टली ऑलमोस्ट द सेम थिंग कि ये जो चीज़ यहाँ दिख रही है मैंने इसको एज अ ब्लॉक ले लिया, उसका नेक पोर्शन को भी अब मैंने यहाँ पे एक ब्लॉक ले लिया है, एंड नाउ व्हेन आई एम सीइंग इट मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि नेक थोड़ी सी और लंबी करना चाहिए, तो व्हाट आई डू इज लाइक अगेन आई गो इन देयर, यहाँ से मैं थोड़ा सा स्कल्प करके कम कर लूंगा। आई एम प्रेसिंग ऑल्ट, जिससे कि ये चीज़ें थोड़ी सी अंदर की तरफ जा रही है। ओके, ये यहाँ से थोड़ा आ रहा है, नेक आ रहा है। एंड इट्स ऑलवेज अ गुड थिंग टू लर्न अ फ्यू थिंग्स अबाउट एनाटॉमी की कोई चीज़ कैसी होती है, शोल्डर से नेक कितना दूर होता है अगर हम कहीं पे काम कर रहे हैं तो। या फिर इवन व्हाट यू कैन डू इज लाइक सिंपली टेक एग्जांपल्स फ्रॉम योर सेल्फ, योर बॉडी इटसेल्फ। कभी जब आईने के सामने हम लोग खड़े होते हैं तो यू जस्ट लुक ऑन टू इट कि हमारा नेक कैसा जा रहा है, हमारी आईज, एक आई से हमारे आईब्रोज ऑलमोस्ट कितनी दूर है, या फिर क्या ऐसी चीज़ है जो डिफ्रेंशिएट करती है हमारी आईज को हमारे फेस से, और क्या थिकनेस आ रही है उसमें। So these things will help you grow as an artist or as a sculptor, जहाँ पे हमारे पास the only best thing that what I feel inside of the ZBrush is that you get a power of undo कर सकते हो बहुत सारा उठा के, so that will gives you know much more freedom of doing things in real life sculpting. When we sculpt something, if a bit of error has been done, then even the whole piece has to be redo, और मे बी उसका सारा सेटअप चेंज करना पड़ता है। सो यहाँ पे यू हैव द पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ चेंजिंग दिस थिंग। ओके, so now I have the shoulders that I need, but this is looking more of a humanoid thing, so I need to get rid of this thing. अब मेरे को क्या करना है, इसका पोजीशन चेंज करना है। आई वांट टू रोटेट दिस थिंग। सो नाउ देयर इज अ थिंग कॉल्ड मास्किंग। मास्किंग में क्या होता है कि हम एक पर्टिकुलर पोर्शन पे कंट्रोल क्लिक करके अगर ड्रैग करते हैं तो वहां पे इस तरह का एक मास्क आ जाता है, या फिर इस तरह का एक अ प्लेस वेर यू कैन नॉट टच। तो अभी मेरे पास क्ले ब्रश है, मैं उससे कर रहा हूँ, तो देखो दिस इज हाउ इट्स वर्किंग। The place wherever I have done, the masking is not getting affected, and apart from that everything is like getting deformed. So what I'll do is like I'll use another thing inside of this stroke. I'll use this lasso. I'll click on lasso. I'll do something like this. Okay, so what I'm telling ZBrush or this model is to block any kind of things that is being happening to this thing. ठीक है, हम क्या कर सकते हैं, यहाँ पे इसको मास्क कर लिया, एंड देन आई क्लिक कंट्रोल एंड क्लिक आउटसाइड। when I'm clicking and controlling clicking control and clicking outside, that will it's inverting the mask actually। उसने यहाँ से लेकर ऊपर कर दिया क्योंकि हमें ये वाले पोर्शन को मूव करना था, उसको वहीं रहने देते। सो वंस वी हैव डन दैट, we'll click on R. R means our rotate tool. So if you click R, you'll have something like this, and many of you might be very familiar with this gizmo कि ये कैसे वर्क करता है, क्या है। It's simply like the round, if you click on the round thing it will go round, okay, and if you move on to this arrows it will move on to the particular axis, okay, जैसे हमारे मॉडलिंग सॉफ्टवेयर में होता है। It's exactly the same thing। Okay, so right now I'm doing this, and as in the start that I've told you, when we are working inside of ZBrush, and if you are concepting at first, then what you need to do is like to have the Dynamesh on. So once the Dynamesh is on, what I'm doing is like यहाँ पे mesh पूरी खराब हो गई है, मुझे क्या करना है, कंट्रोल पकड़ के बाहर क्लिक करना है और ये mesh सही हो जाएगी ऑटोमेटिकली। and all I need to do is like click space and this thing will be getting smoothed out। तो जो मैंने मॉडिफाई किया था वो यहाँ पे मॉडिफाई हो गया, यहाँ पे क्लिक हो गया, एंड देन नाउ आई कैन डू इज लाइक गेट द वॉल्यूम ऑफ द शोल्डर्स हियर। यू नो दिस इज मोर ऑफ अ टीडियस थिंग दैट आई एम डूइंग, बट दिस इज मोर ऑफ अ ट्रेडिशनल थिंग कि मुझे अगर यहाँ पे अगर वॉल्यूम देना है तो मैं यहाँ पे मे बी इट्स लाइक आई एम एडिंग मोर क्ले। मैं यहाँ पे ऐसा ऐसा घिस देता हूँ और मे बी एडिंग मोर क्ले टू इट, तो यहाँ पे सरफेस में डिफॉर्मेशन आ रहा है। ठीक है, मैं इसको पकड़ के और नीचे कर देता हूँ, वेयर आई वॉन्ट माई द एब्डोमिनल थिंग और मे बी द एब्स काइंड ऑफ थिंग। मैं क्लिक करता हूँ बाहर और मैं ड्रैग सेलेक्ट करके चेंज करता हूँ इसकी वॉल्यूम को। यहाँ पे इसको भी फिल आउट कर देते हैं हम। देखो ये अजीब सा लग रहा है, इसको यहाँ पे जाके चेंज कर देते हैं। सो दिस इज something that we can do। I'll click on control and then I'll click outside now this, is looking much better. And now you can shape out the things that how you can do this, कैसे उस चीज़ में बहुत ज़्यादा चेंजेस ला सकते हैं. आई एम यूजिंग ड्रीम डायनामिक टूल, जिससे कि इसमें वॉल्यूम आ रहा है, मैं चिज़ल आउट कर सकता हूँ चीज़ों को. यहाँ पे देखो मैं शार्प कर रहा हूँ चीज़ को, इसको निकाल देता हूँ यहाँ से. आई एम सिंपली लुकिंग ऑन टू दिस थिंग and I'll click control, and outside when I click, every mesh is now a better mesh where I can work around it or maybe sculpt it. ठीक है. यहाँ से what I'm thinking of is like, okay, in the lieu of time what I'm thinking is like, let's just do the burst of this thing. यहाँ तक. Now ये मेरा एक स्टेज आ गया है where I'm thinking is like, okay, let's just suppose let it be the portion where we can say that okay, this is the blocking and I'm okay with the blocking. इसके आगे अगर मुझे करना है तो I'll need to do more stuff with this, maybe you know put some apps kind of thing. इसको change कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे. So we'll do more sculpt, and by the end of the session at least we'll be having a good thing to show you कि कैसे चीज़ों को मैनेज करते हैं, कैसे हमने नए टूल्स बनाना सीखे और कैसे चीज़ों को अप्रोच किया, क्या थॉट प्रोसेस है. सो दैट्स मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट इन दिस सेशन इज अबाउट द थॉट प्रोसेस ऑफ हाउ टू डू दिस थिंग. क्योंकि the things that you are seeing here is more like how we entertain this thing, like how we approach this, कि ये सब चीज़ें कैसी है. Because I do have a bit of knowledge about like how I should be doing this, I'm doing this, but what you guys need to do is like you can go in there and check out a lot of anatomy things, कि कैसे एनाटॉमी होती है, एनिमल एनाटॉमी कैसी होती है, जानवर कैसे होते हैं, या फिर उनके ऐसी क्या चीज़ें हैं जो हम नोटिस करते हैं, सीन कैसे होते हैं, या फिर उनकी स्केल्स कैसे होती हैं. छिपकलियाँ बहुत लोगों को डर लगता है, अजीब लगता है एंड वॉट एवर, बट इफ यू सी क्लोजर टू दोज थिंग्स दे डू हैव सम काइंड ऑफ नाइस रेप्टिलिस्टिक थिंग. एक्चुअली दैट्स अ रेप्टाइल, और उसके अंदर हमें स्केल्स वगैरह देखने के लिए मिलती हैं, आंखें कैसी होगी वो देखने को मिलता है, यू नो. सो आई एम नॉट सेइंग जस्ट टू कि उसको इतना ज्यादा घूर के और मे बी टू ऑब्जर्व दोज थिंग्स, बट इट्स अ गुड थिंग टू ऑब्जर्व द पीपल अराउंड यू और ऑब्जर्व द एनिमल्स अराउंड यू, you know. So that things gives you a much more wider prospect about like to how you can approach this thing. ठीक है. अभी what I'm trying to do is like create a bit of an incision or maybe trying to block out the shape of the face itself. Trim कर रहा हूँ मैं. Okay, now I'm trying to get inside of the face. कैसे जा रहा है, थोड़ा सा नीचे, it's more blocky. Using the move tool I'm changing how this thing works. Okay, this is not at all looking like the concept that we're working on, but what we can do now is to refine more. अब हमें क्या चाहिए, जैसे उसका मुंह खुला हुआ सा है साइड में. Okay, so his face is something like this and it's open from here. Okay, then we'll right now till here what I'll say is the basic blocking of the thing is done. अब हमें क्या करना है, इसमें वॉल्यूम डालना है, करेक्शन करने हैं, एंड टू रिफाइन दिस मॉडल. Okay, we'll have this thing over here, or I'll clean this out because it's kind of coming inside. Okay, so one more thing that I'll show you right now. It's called the transparency thing, where you can actually keep a model and see how whatever you have sculpted is working. Okay, so for that what I'll do is, it's kind of a trick or maybe a very useful thing that we can use actually. I'm simply keeping the reference image over here. I think you guys are able to view this. So we'll just keep it over here, and there is a very decent thing or very good thing inside of ZBrush that you can actually there is a thing called see through. See, instead of ZBrush, there is a thing called see through, जिसके ऊपर when you scroll it, you can increase the amount of transparency that comes into the whole software. और ये क्योंकि हमने ऊपर रखा हुआ है, इसको हम यहाँ से चेंज कर देते हैं. So now you can see your model and your reference in the back side. हम अलग से कोई कैमरा लगा के यहाँ पे कैमरा मैचिंग इसके अंदर नहीं कर रहे हैं, but that too we can do. But now see our model almost fits. अब हमें क्या करना है, हमारे सारे टूल्स लेने हैं. अब उसके हिसाब से इसको मॉडल में चेंजेस करना है. जैसे यहाँ पे ये हो गया, फेस हो गया, इसको चेंज करते हैं. यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा ड्रैग करके इसकी वॉल्यूम ले लेते हैं. इसका जो बैक पोर्शन है, सो इट्स लाइक प्रोट्रूडिंग मोर आउटसाइड, so we'll match it somewhere like this. And since it's showing too much of its abs inside, we'll just simply get a shape that's much more suitable for it. So now in a way, when I'm looking at it, I can see, okay, I need to have punch this more inside, and I'll go a bit more see through where I can actually see more of it. Okay, then I'll have more details, क्या चीज़ कहाँ पे आनी है. Okay, so now when I'm coming back inside of ZBrush, and I'll take that thing, we'll again put this like much more smaller. इसको रख लेते हैं यहाँ पे. Okay, so this way I was able to achieve the look and feel of the concept. अब मुझे क्या करना है, with my knowledge and with our the things what we know about a character, कि क्या होता है, कैसी चीज़ें उसमें करनी चाहिए. The back face thing I'll open again with this thing, back face mask करके I'll have more of a detailed back to it. यहाँ से we'll have the muscles, कैसे muscles आएंगी, कैसे ये उसको पिंच आउट करेगा, ये चीज़ें कैसे वर्कआउट होगी, and this thing what I've done over here, this is basically your chest part or maybe your rib cage. तो हम ये जो एप्पल शेप होता है रिब केज का, उस तरह का कुछ होता है, where you can go in there, you will punch out the things, the neck details, कैसे इसमें चीज़ें आनी चाहिए, the shoulders. Till now I'm not even worried about like how this thing is going to be, इसमें कैसा sculpt बन रहा है या फिर इसमें क्या चीज़ें आ रही हैं, the things that how this thing is going to come or how this is going to look. What I'm concerned right now is simply about the shapes, forms and the volume, like how this thing is getting formed, कैसे इसमें वो चीज़ आ रही है, क्या चीज़ इसमें ऐड कर सकते हैं या फिर क्या इसमें हम रिमूव करेंगे या फिर क्या इसमें ऐसा हम ऐड करेंगे जो कि it actually solidifies our anatomy of this creature, कि क्या ऐसा कर रहे हैं हम, इससे कितना उसमें डिफरेंस आ रहा है. Right now I'm smoothing it out. इसको स्मूथ करते हैं. We'll have this and then we'll have a collarbone, क्योंकि इसका neck इतना solid है, चिल्लाता होगा, maybe it can scream and it can open its mouth really long, so we'll add some grooves over here जिससे कि इसका shoulder बहुत ज़्यादा accentuate हो जाए. And now we'll add something like this. And since I'm looking at from this angle, what I feel is like maybe we need to get it a bit wider, oh, it's looking more like it's the shoulders are like sunking in. We'll have a decent volume for the ribs. Okay, and then we'll have some things to fill this out. Ekdami, it's looking like, you know, a hungry kind of a guy. Hungry भी नहीं है. He has almost no appetite at all right this moment. So let's give him some volume, and we can even create, you know, the tail or maybe the pelvic of this thing, से जिससे कि ऐसा show हो जाएगा कि yeah fine, like he's a strong guy, he's having a strong legs and all those things. And again we'll click outside, control and drag, and then this will give us a good nice mesh to work on. I hope you guys are getting the gist of it, like how to sculpt and how to think about like how the things should work.
सर देयर इज वन क्वेश्चन. सर हमारा
हाँ,
एक पोर्शन का स्कल्पचर तैयार हुआ है, क्या हम
हमारा
उसे हमारा एक पोर्शन का स्कल्पचर तैयार हुआ है.
एक पोर्शन.
पोर्शन पोर्शन यस
ओके.
हुआ है, क्या हम उसे लॉक कर सकते हैं बिना कुछ चेंजेस उसमें नहीं चाहिए, बाकी पोर्शन के ऊपर काम करते वक्त जैसे फोटोशॉप में करते हैं वैसे. सर मुझे
हाँ.
क्लियरिटी. यस.
ओके. सो राइट नाउ, जैसे हमारा इतना बड़ा एक पोर्शन हमने बना लिया है, ये सारा हो गया है. अब मैं जैसे सोचता हूँ कि ये जो चीज़ है, ये मैं पहले भी बताया था, मास्किंग वाला ही है. अगर मेरे को इस पोर्शन पे बिल्कुल हाथ नहीं लगाना है, यहाँ पे जो भी मैं कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं अगर होना चाहिए, तो मैं क्या करता हूँ कि इसको सिंपली यहाँ से ऐसा मास्क करके रख लेता हूँ. जैसे ही मैंने मास्किंग किया तो मैं जो भी एडिट वगैरह करना है वो सब बाकी एरिया पे ही होता है, तो मैं वो पोर्शन को छोड़ सकता हूँ.
ओके सर.
Simple.
ओके
Like
सर.
simply masking that portion will have a control over other portion, कि किस चीज पे कैसे वर्क करना है. यहाँ पे हमारा सेरेटस मसल्स आता है, रिब्स के पास में होती है, ये कैसे जाना है. ये सारी चीजें जब हम बना लेते हैं, ये चीज एक्चुअली में हम लोग और भी पोर्शन पे कर सकते हैं. जैसे ओके, आई वांट टू हैव अ डिटेल ओवर हियर, और मुझे क्या करना है कि मुझे ये हर बार बैठ के ऐसे, यू आई डोंट वांट टू लाइक स्क्रैच इट आउट, बैठ के ऐसे रगड़ रगड़ के नहीं करना है. डोंट वांट टू हैव अ थिंग वेयर आई एम डूइंग लाइक दिस एंड आई एम ट्राइंग टू अचीव कि हाँ ठीक है ऐसा होगा, और मे बी दिस इज. सो व्हाट आई कैन डू इज लाइक आई कैन अगेन क्लिक हियर एंड यू नो आई कैन क्रिएट अ मास्क. यहाँ पे क्लिक करके मैं एक मास्क क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ. यहाँ मास्क क्रिएट किया, एंड देयर इज अ थिंग कॉल्ड इन्फ्लेट ब्रश. बी और आई प्रेस करेंगे, बी और आई प्रेस करेंगे तो इन्फ्लेट ब्रश आ गया. इन्फ्लेट ब्रश से क्या करेंगे हम लोग, यहाँ पे धीरे धीरे इसमें वॉल्यूम क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. इन्फ्लेट कर रहे हैं हम, देखो मैं रैंडमली करके दिखाता हूँ. सी दिस इज हाउ इट वर्क्स. ठीक है, जैसे यहाँ पे मैंने मास्किंग कर लिया और मैं यहाँ पे अगर कुछ कर रहा हूँ तो यहाँ पे this is giving me some really nice shapes which is not required for this model at least, but this is how we can create some decent features. तो जब काम हमारा हो जाए तो मास्क हटा लो, so there will be this crisp lines and then this kind of shapes can be happening. Okay, ठीक है. So what I'll do right now is I'll do a bit, I'll work it around on the face, क्योंकि what I think is like my body is coming up almost okay. Block है, the ribs chain is looking fine, the lattice is looking fine, यहाँ पे भी okay है. We'll have the spines, we'll create this kind of things later on, जब हम जो माइन्यूट जो स्किन डिटेल्स वगैरह देने वाले हैं वो सारी चीज़ें जब करेंगे तब वो चीज़ करेंगे. अभी हम लोग थोड़ा सा इसके फेस पे फोकस कर लेते हैं to get this thing near to what we are looking for. Okay, so basically I'm taking that image as a reference only, like I'm not completely focused on getting exactly the same thing, but we are not far from that also, because I'll be able to do that. Like I do need a bit of time, and will have to catch that thing. But for you people who may be new, or who may be already be learning about ZBrush, और जिनको थोड़ा बहुत भी आता है, उनको पता है कि कैसे अचीव कर सकते हैं हम लोग इन सब चीज़ों को. बट फॉर सम पीपल, जिसके लिए नया है, उनके लिए थॉट प्रोसेस ही नहीं होता है. They might never know how to approach these things, because since we are okay to model these things, and we have done a number of things, we know. But for some people who have never even touched this thing, उनके लिए थोड़ा नया हो जाता है. तो कैसे अचीव करेंगे? इसका मुंह खुला हुआ है, एंड इट्स लाइक द वेनम स्क्रीमिंग काइंड ऑफ थिंग. अभी तो ये ऐसा प्यार से डक जैसा फेस लग रहा है. सो हाउ आर द थिंग्स दैट वी गोइंग टू चेंज इन इट? इसमें ऐसा क्या हमें चेंजेस लाने पड़ेंगे? कैसे इसको अप्रोच करना है? सो दैट इज व्हाट आई वांट टू टीच यू गाइस. यू नो यहाँ से अलग करते हैं इसको, यहाँ से चेंज करते हैं. सो यहाँ पे व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू डू इज द सीमेंट लाइक थिंग जो इसके ऊपर आ रही है. आई एम ट्राइंग टू गेट दैट काइंड ऑफ फीचर. इसको मैं यहाँ पे रखता हूँ, and I'll have this thing run over there, and then I'll smooth that out. I'm trying to get that shape. And now I'll work around this. And see, when I'm looking here, I can see my details from here are from at least from this side, and I need to have this volume. तो ये कैसे लेकर आएंगे? We'll simply have this thing drawn out. No? अब मुझे क्या है ना कि ये जो नीचे जो ओपन होके रखा हुआ माउथ है, द माउथ पोर्शन इज एक्चुअली coming in between my the vision. So then what I can do is, like, I can hit on control plus shift. I'll hit on control plus shift, and then I'll click on that stroke, and I'll again go to lasso. तो lasso क्या करता है? Give me the power to have the exact portion that I can work on. मेरे को ये वाले पोर्शन पे ही काम करना है, इतने इतने पे. तो मैं यहाँ से इसको क्लिक करता हूँ और यहाँ पे कर लेता हूँ. तो देखो बाकी सारा पोर्शन गायब हो गया है. इट्स नॉट लाइक इट्स डिलीटेड, इट्स जस्ट इट्स गॉन फॉर नाउ. अब मैं यहाँ पे काम कर सकता हूँ. जब मेरा काम हो जाए मैं रिवील कर देता हूँ, बाहर कंट्रोल शिफ्ट क्लिक कर देता हूँ. एंड वन ऑफ द बेस्ट थिंग्स एंड वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट यू नीड टू नो is to save your model. ZBrush is so how will I say, it's so interactive and it's so involving. हम लोग भूल जाते हैं सेव करना. And it does have a bad habit of going, like it will not even ask you sometimes, and if it crashes, it crashes. And there is a thing where you can actually recover this thing. ये तो अभी सेव हो गया, मैंने यहाँ से सेव टूल कर लिया, जो कि I've already told you earlier that inside of ZBrush we do save inside as a tool. And once it gets crashed, or if you are opening it again, what you'll get, to open this thing, you have to press the comma button. Once you do the comma, you'll see this quick save option. Quick save mein there is this model saved over here. So once you double click on it, it gets automatically opened. Quick save, the shortcut for that is 9 alpha, the number 9. Okay, so this is qs_15, that is this thing, and then this thing works. Okay, let's just continue. So this is the model, and now I want to focus more on the upper jaw. So I'll do like this, and there is this button. This is the perspective. इसको अगर ऑफ कर देते हैं तो everything will be like in a perfect front, perfect left, right, or whatever. You see the head, ये कैसे घूमता है, ये perfect left हो गया, ये bottom हो गया, ये नीचे हो गया. But using this perspective, you will get more fleshy kind of feel to it. कैसे है ये दिखेगा. Now we'll do this control and drag on the face, and this is how that would look. अब मुझे अंदर डिटेल अगर करनी है तो नाउ आई कैन इजीली गो इनसाइड एंड डू अ बिट मोर ऑफ अ वर्क. Sometimes when you're working with the tablet and the strokes don't get as you like, it's because like maybe a number of use of your alt plus tab. If you press alt plus tab, most of the times, at least sometimes, this gives a bug where the stylus doesn't work properly. Then again you have to tap onto that alt tab and then you can work, because I'm like swapping between the images to see how this thing is going. Now you use the move brush and simply move it here and there to achieve what you are looking for. See, now I can easily see where I'm going. Same, I'll have this, and I'll have the details that I want to do. I'll have this, I'll have the inner jaw. And right now I'm not focusing on the teeth, because once the jaw portion or the face features and everything are set, then we can jump onto that thing. Okay, where we can where we are easily like we'll be able to do, you know the facial thing. So now what I've started doing is to give it the basic flesh feel. Okay, where we were actually looking at the portion where we can work around the stuff, कि वो कैसे होगा, ये जो चीज़ उसकी स्किनी शेप्स हैं वो बाहर कैसे निकलेंगे, एंड हाउ द थिंग्स आर फ्लोइंग, उसमें डिटेल्स कैसे देना है. एंड डू नॉट फियर, बस बनाते रहो, क्योंकि अभी स्टिल वी आर एट द सेकेंड स्टेज. लाइक फर्स्ट वी वर डूइंग द ब्लॉकिंग कि कैसे बनना है क्या है. नाउ वी आर एट द सेकेंड स्टेज वेयर वी आर एक्चुअली पुटिंग द शेप्स करेक्टली, कि कैसे उन शेप्स को हम अचीव कर रहे हैं, वो सारे शेप्स डाल रहे हैं. जब सारी चीज़ें हो जाएंगी, जब हम इसको थोड़ा आगे चल के स्मूथ वगैरह जब कर देंगे, देन विल बी एबल टू वर्क इट आउट मोर प्रॉपरली. There is a thing, maybe a spot kind of thing. You know, यहाँ से इसको अचीव करो, यहाँ पे इसको निकाल के लाओ, यहाँ से ये ले लो, and let's see how this thing is looking. I think ये ऊपर से चपटा हो गया है, it's at constant flat. Maybe we can give it a slight bump on his head, not that much, but maybe something like this. And maybe the head is getting too wide, and I'll shrink it down a bit, then maybe add an eye to that thing. I think like this may be a good time. See, somehow, I mean like not somehow, it's actually getting closer, or now you can actually see the feel of the character inside of this thing. We'll add a eye to that. So uske liye what we need to do is like go to subtool, and then we'll add an eye, or maybe an eyeball. So for that we'll simply add a sphere. So once we add a sphere, it comes over here, and this is the subtool. Subtools means a next tool that we are working on. Okay. So when we are in this layer, or maybe in this subtool, we are not touching that other thing. So that other model will not be touched, and that will not be getting any kind of deformations that will be doing. तो हम इसको select करते हैं, the sphere that we were doing, and then we'll press W to move. And if you see the small square button over here, we'll simply scale it down more. We'll bring it down, देख लेते हैं कितना छोटा हो रहा है. And there is a thing over here. I'm working on the laptop, so it's not showing the options here. ये आता है transform में, and there is this thing called transparency. Once you click on that transparency, the whole model gets transparent except for the subtool that you are clicking. तो यहाँ पे I'll be able to see where am I putting and what is the size of the eyes that I'm going for. So let's just suppose this is what I'm looking for, the eyes. Okay, this is somewhere it is. And let's bring it this way. We'll close this transparency. Transparency comes under transform, transparency. Okay. So यहाँ पे है. Now I'll simply bring it out a bit. Or let's just have it that way. So that way we'll be able to know where exactly are we putting that. I'll make it a bit more smaller, and I'll use this red axis to go in that axis, that is like x-axis. And now I'll come on to this subtool again and see the placement of the eye. Okay, I think that let's just move it over here, and we'll need to give it more shape. So what I see over here is like it's getting inside. Okay, this thing is more sunken. और यहाँ पे what we have done is more of a, it's more outside thing. So we'll need to have a volume that goes inside. See this is more of a nose, and this here is much more bulging out. It's more like a donut kind of thing that's coming out. So what we need to give is more a dinosaur kind of a feel to it. So we'll simply push it out. See, and then we'll have it like this. We'll do like this. I'll save it again. I'll even do a quick save. Press 9 also. Okay, and then I'll push this mesh inside. See, to get that ice feel. And I'm using the damn standard brush to again get the shape out of its eye. And since we are using symmetry, the other side is also getting deformed at the same time. So then we will have this beautiful shape, okay, over the eye. I'll give it more of a depth right now. Work around like this. Okay, and then I'll sculpt it out this area. So when you see from this area, we'll know, okay, that guy is able to see. उसका vision clear कर देता है. So sometimes we need to think about like in that manner also, like how this is going to work, because nobody needs a non-functioning model. You know, हमने यहाँ पे आइस लगा दिया, वो किसी और के काम ही नहीं आ रहा वो. So that's sometimes it's not feasible, even though it's looking good, but if it is not working, so that's actually not working, however good it might be. So we'll smooth this out. We'll have this. We'll switch that on again. Okay. Now we'll place it more inside. Okay. So now this looks more menacing. Okay. Now we'll have the eyes. We'll sculpt more the eyes to get more feel to it. Like this, we'll get more exposure on top of the eyes. This might be the upper gums, जहाँ पे हम अभी इसके बाद में we'll be putting more. No, we'll be putting the teeth inside. What I'll do is I'll mask this portion. उसके लिए I have to go to freehand. I'll press Control and I'll mask this portion. Uh, where is that? Where is that? I'll mask this portion. Okay. And then I'll sculpt on this area. Maybe I'll bring this thing down and sculpt on this area. थोड़ा सा gap देके I'll have a shape like this and then let it go. Then again bring it and let it be the scales, merge with the scales of the body. And then I'll have my clay brush to fill out the thickness on this above area. Okay. And have few of I'll smooth that out. I'll give it a bit of a hard edge kind of feel with my trim dynamic brush. You know, it's like a shell on top of this head. We can even change the lighting, you know, how this model is seeing. So what we can do is to go into light and we can simply click on here कि कैसे इसमें light आ रहा है. That thing we can change. So we can go into light and we can change how the light is actually interacting with this. So we'll get more detail about the depth of the model that we have done. And then we'll put more volume. Smooth that out. So now this is looking more fleshy, more masculine, and more in sync with the model that we were doing. I'm using trim dynamic again to fill out this thing. Let's see how this looks now. Yeah, it's more like a cap or something, and let's just give some random incisions to make it look more, you know, rocky kind of thing. And now since we are working here, I see that these things are a bit low. I'll go in and I'll add Dynamesh. Yeah, we'll do something like this. We'll smooth it out. We'll go into geometry, Dynamesh, and we'll do the Dynamesh again. We are losing the details, so now we can increase it actually. So I'm doubling that one, and I'll click on Dynamesh. Yes, it's working. I'll quick save again, because if it crashes right now, and this will create a issue at that point of time. So अभी के लिए तो ये okay है. Now we'll have more details. I'll push it inside. Let's see, this jaw may be starting from here, so I'll have something like this coming out. Now I need to create some muscles kind of forms to it. So since our blocking was done good, so this muscles attenuations will give us much more better look and feel about how we are doing it. Now we can smooth these extra details off. And then we need to put this. I'm putting it a rough details of how these things are going. I'm adding an alpha. You know, alpha gives us much more detailed strokes. जैसे अभी तक हम काम कर रहे थे तो हमें इस तरह का स्ट्रोक्स मिल रहा था. So once I change the alpha, this will give me lines like this, or maybe I'll have something like this. Okay, so that is how we work. This will give much more details. So these are some pre-made alphas that are already there, जिससे कि इस तरह की details हमें easily मिल जाएगी. उन details पे हम बाद में जाते हैं. First of all, I'm simply taking this alpha because I need much more precise and rounded options for this. See, where I'm able to create much more detailed and smaller detailed nerves, or maybe the fleshy kind of thing that is coming out of his, the above eye area. So this is how you will do this. We'll check onto those things, like how this things works out. A bit of smoothness. And if you see this, this is getting merged with the skull over here. तो यहाँ पे you need to add a bit more volume so that it looks like it's like part of that thing. It's not like a hat or a cap that has been installed. Okay, so we'll do like this, and we'll add a bit more detail, थोड़ा सा. So right now this is getting more rounded. What we'll do is change a bit of the slope of how this thing is getting on here, and then we'll do this. Smooth that out. And then we'll add this. We'll have some depth over here, जिससे कि वो शेल वाले एरिया वहाँ पर रहे. And then we'll create a more compelling design elements. Save. I think this is a bit. And simply use this tool to get more inside of this and work around the details. Sir, we are still live, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are live.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't hearing anything, so I was like, okay, let's just check it once.
No, sir. We are live. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll just get in there, and we'll add in more details. Okay, so now I can see the ice, good and nice placed over there. I'll smooth a bit there. I'll have this. I'll have more of the lines and everything coming on. Okay. So I'm okay with how the things are turning out to be. Now we need to have more details. Have more volume. I'll add a bit more of a detail, and we need to get some folds. So I guess most of you have learned something today, how these things are going, how you can use ZBrush to create your own self driven characters, or maybe think about the things how you can do this, maybe add more. It actually gives a more boost to your portfolio, or maybe the showreel that you're doing, and if it's depending upon your character, or may it be environment, or may it be any other thing that you are focusing on. So if you are working on those kind of things, and this software does really help to boost your reels and all those things, because even it let it be a character, or maybe let it be some kind of a monster, or maybe a house or something, where you need to add the details on the wooden floors, or maybe broken window, cars, dents and everything. This ZBrush gives an absolute control over how the things are getting wrecked, or maybe how the details are coming on to top of that. So this thing actually helps a lot in a very controlled way. You can actually go in there and sculpt out things, or maybe put in the details which were not possible inside of our normal day-to-day Max or Maya. So this things actually gives you a niche over things. So earlier I was worried about, I was making out these shapes, so I was not worried about how, or how well these things are going to be, or how to do this, because this is the time where I'm going to refine them. Okay, so this is how it should be. Pehle, all you need to do is like focus on the things that you are good at, or creating the volumes or what is needed. So once you are done with those things, then you can get on to the normal or maybe simple part of the details, that like how you are doing this. And one more thing that I get a lot from my students is that, like, uh, we have tried it and it's not coming as good, or maybe as close to the things that you have shown us. So every time that I have a single answer for that thing, is it's called practice. you know Inside of ZBrush, whenever you are working, or inside of any other model when you are working, maybe it's a faculty, or maybe it's a senior artist, or maybe if you see any other artist work inside of maybe ArtStation or ZBrush Central, or there are other sites where you can focus on. So their work stands out just because they have worked more than you. They have taken their time and they have worked more than you have done, because you have just started your career. Like, you have just started your thing where you are working on, like, how the things are going, and how you will work on the stuff, and how this thing works. You are just learning, and some genius are still there who actually shows up better work than some veterans, but still it's just the experience keeps us apart. So once you do have that kind of experience to work, then automatically your work starts to call you. you know Automatically you will be able to do stuff that we do. And even the if you are better at it, and there will be a point where even we will be asking you about like how did you do that, like what did you use and how did you achieve that thing. Maybe there might be a time when you will be able to outshine us, and that is where the success of a teacher is. Like whenever his student is doing much better than him, or much better place, because every time he looks at a student he thinks that okay, yeah, those are the people that I taught. Okay. So what I'll ask you children, or maybe the people who are working or who wants to grow big in maybe in whatever effects, modeling or whatever, all you need to do is to do more whatever you are doing. The more you do, the more practice you do, the more better you get. So that is one mantra that I'll say will work on it. So I have added quite a bit of details. I have added you know the muscular forms, and the incisions of the muscles, about like how they go in real life, like what are the bones that they require, and how they work around with stuffs, and how do we approach things, and how do we look at things, so we don't get scared about like how we actually do this thing, and how to achieve few of those folds, or maybe few of those things that we are not aware of. So I hope you guys had a good evening looking onto this thing. I think we need to add another. Oh, the ice is not going here. Okay, what we can do is we can go into deformation, and we can do simply modify topology, and we can do mirror and weld. So that way we'll get both eyes at the same time. Just coming back to this. I'll push this more inside. This is looking a bit like, and it's looking like as if he's smiling, not a raw kind of thing. Go to geometry, and then we'll add Dynamesh. I'll squeeze that down. I'll bring it over here. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to create the saliva kind of thing, or maybe the stretchy, the stretchy muscles of his face. Yeah. So now making it a bit thinner. We'll push it. It's just a strands kind of thing that we need to take care of. Okay, so what we need to see is like, we'll use inflate. The bottom portion is inflated, and the higher reaching area is not that much inflated. Okay, and we'll simply adopt the shape, how this is going. This is getting auto save. And now at this point I want to have this thing chopped off. I mean, like, I don't need everything which is not shown over here. So what I'll do is, like, I'll click Control Shift and I'll use this trim curve and simply drag from here, and I'll cut it out. So if you see, the mesh has been cut out like this. Okay, and I'm doing Dynamesh, and then again I'll push and pull this mesh to get a more fleshy feel, and then I'll sculpt more on top of it to get that particular feel. I'll increase the resolution, which gives me more area to work on. Something like this. So as I told you about the alpha, what I'll do is, like, I'll click on this alpha and I'll simply add few of the lines, which gives me something to start working on. Okay. Once this has been achieved, we'll do more sculpt on top of it. Some bigger shapes, and then we will have some smaller shapes running. We need to see how the what is it called, fibers of your skin works. So you need to achieve that also. So I'll simply have this thing here, and we'll work on this area right now, how this is going. Then there is this volume coming up. We'll add this, and then we'll have this, smooth it out, and we'll have another brush, it's called pinch, where we can actually get that thickness under more control. Okay, so once that portion of the mesh has been blocked out, what we need to do is, like, then we need to add supporting shapes, which actually helps this, to sell this thing that what we have created right now, which has been working. We'll set this more right in this way. We'll check if our model is doing okay. I'll try to close the mouth now. I'll simply select the area like this area, inverse the selection, and I'll try to rotate it. We'll have it here and we'll try to rotate it. So, yes, so this thing works. Maybe just a bit we need to pull it out to look it like this. I'm duplicating that thing and I'll keep it there. So we'll have another strand like this. We'll move a bit here to just save that space for this thing. We'll simply fix this by adding more geometry to it. Let's without the teeth it's not looking good actually. Let's do some teeth now. Again we'll add a sphere and convert it into Dynamesh. We'll do something like this. We'll isolate it, give it a shape. I'm not going for a perfect shape here because that thing will create randomness and this will create some really good and decent shapes to it. So we have some shape like this. We'll make it more sharp. So this area we can keep more sharp. Okay, I'll simply put that over here and scale it down. Placing it here and maybe a bit down. I'm duplicating it. You can press Ctrl and then drag, so it will give you a better shape. We'll add something like this. Just to give it a bit more character, we'll simply modify that thing a bit. नहीं तो सब कुछ एक जैसे ही repeated नहीं लगना चाहिए. It should not look repeated, you know. So maybe we'll add this. And once we are on to it, we can add more details, you know, like how this is supposed to be, how this teeth came onto existence, you know, modify the gums a bit, smooth it out, add it, add the gums, modify, smooth it out. Now again, maybe we can add over here, rotate a bit. So once this is done, what I'll do the same as I have done with the other portion of the face. Okay, I'll simply extract this thing. I'll mirror that, and instead of geometry, I'll go in and I'll simply use mirror and weld. So that will give me this teeth. Okay, and I'll stretch it a bit more if I want something like this. I can even take a copy of the whole thing and rotate it. We'll have it over here. We will rotate it. You can stretch it out a bit. And then we'll put more details on the surface to make it look more feasible, or make it more onto it. This is the way that we do the creatures and all those things. Okay, and if we spend more time onto it, then we can have the tertiary teeth, because it's having more smaller teeth to it, and the length and all those things need to be redoubled and rechecked. But I hope that you guys might have learned a lot from this thing, and feel free to ask any questions. Vihang sir, will have this. If you guys have any questions, please shoot. I'll see how well can I answer to your queries at this moment. Okay. For the moment, I feel that okay. In the lieu of time, I can see that most of the questions have been done, and the things what we see could be more better if we spend in more time. Okay. So,
One more question popping. How much
uh,
can a fresher earn with the knowledge of ZBrush?
wait, earn as in like a proper money kind of thing that you're talking about, right? Like when
Yes,
you earn as a fresher.
yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll tell you about myself itself. Like the first job that I got was for an organic modeler. So I was doing only ZBrush at that time. Okay. So the pay scales and everything depends upon the industry that you're working on. You know, the earnings and everything, it depends upon like your level of experience and how are you going to work for them and what kind of things they are expecting from you. So it will depend upon those kind of things. So what I would suggest is, instead of like, since you are a fresher and you are having these thoughts, so what I will suggest is, like, instead of focusing on the amount of the monetary gain, you should try to get the experience which actually costs more. you know the first important thing that you should be thinking about is like, how well are you going to be getting inside of an industry, and how well do you cope up with them, or are you even able to get into the stuff that those people are doing and how you are doing the stuff. So that would be my approach of doing the stuff. Because once you get to a place where you are already doing really good, then suddenly the monetary gains are definitely to follow you. you know it's a necessary thing. मतलब आपको एक्सपीरियंस पे ज़्यादा फोकस करना चाहिए एज अ फ्रेशर, और पैसा अपने आप आता है. The more you grow, the more you get into it, the more the people recognize you, the more promotions and all those things that you get. That is how you grow as an artist and as a you know a bread earning people.
Right, sir. So, sir, we have one more question. सलाइवा जो है उसको ट्रांसपेरेंट कैसे करें?
उसके लिए इस पे मटेरियल्स वगैरह आते हैं जिसका हमको यूज करना पड़ेगा. जिस तरह से आई ट्राई टू शो यू, क्योंकि उसके लिए फिर रेंडरिंग भी होती है. सो देर इज एक्चुअली दिस थिंग. जैसे ये सलाइवा हमने यहाँ पे बनाया है. आई सेव इट क्विक. Okay, I'm coming on to this one. Or what I'll do is I'll simply give it a bit of a color. It's just to show you, okay? I'm not doing a real exact thing. This is just polypaint that we can do. Here, there is an option inside of rendering. When you render, see, these are few things that can give you an illusion about the material कि वो कैसा हो सकता है, क्या है. But if you want to do the transparency, and we are going to take this model inside of ZBrush, oh sorry, inside of Max or Maya. So there we have shaders, okay, where we can give the glass or that kind of stuffs inside of that, or the transparency and everything comes into the play. यहाँ पे we have BPR transparency. This only comes after the render. For that you have to enable. Let me see if I can get it. Okay. So when you're doing something like this, all you need to do is to get this model inside of Maya or maybe Max, and then there are the shaders where which we normally work around these things. So there you can get the renders and get the transparency out of it. It's more like it's translucent actually. It's not transparent. So render properties, and there we have this transparent. That's one thing, and we do have a wax preview, and inside of wax preview you'll start to see the stuff actually. Render, wax preview. Okay, and this is how you can get the render inside of ZBrush. I'll simply add the perspective to that. Okay, I'll have a mode of this kind of way. The render shortcut is Shift R for this.
Okay, sir.
This is the Shift R where you can get the renders out of it. So in additional renders only, you will get all the things that you have asked for. Anything else?
No, sir. I think we have covered all the questions.
Okay. So there is a thing that I can do, like we can create. You can press Shift S. There is this document, and you can double the size of this. This is the character that we have done today. So this is by pressing Shift S, you can take a screenshot inside of ZBrush, and it will keep your model like this. So that's how you can take a screenshot of this whole thing, how it's showing. You can go into documents, and then you can export and take the JPG and let it be inside of ZBrush, and we will name it as, we'll simply save it. Okay. So once we are doing this, so this was the model that we were able to get from ZBrush. Okay. If we give more time, and if you give more, more details and more volume things, so those things will enable this model to get more, much more better output. So it only requires your skills and time, and everything will come into place eventually.
Excellent, excellent session, sir, and absolutely right advice that practice make things perfect. You can practice and get to a level of improvisation to your model. Thank you, sir, for your time and for your guidance on this subject.
Okay.
So I request everybody to सब्सक्राइब द चैनल. आप लोग सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए चैनल. जैसे आज हम लोगों ने एक एक्सपीरियंस लिया जी ब्रश स्कल्पटिंग का. सो वी conduct this kind of webinars, and you will get notification if any webinar is coming. So hit the bell icon to get the notification. And today I thank Prem Chandran sir for taking out this time, and all the audiences for coming out for this session. It was a great session. So till then, guys, take care and see you soon for the next webinar. Take care. Thank you.